Hey guys, Kev here, and I'm going to try to not ramble forever about this. I'm going to swap skiffs on the Divo Growler V3, two different versions. I have 80s and I have titanium to show you both versions. And yeah, I just don't want it to be an hour long like the last one, so I'm trying here, all right? So I've already taken this apart because I restarted this video because I was rambling on and on and on. So the cool thing with the Growler V3 is it is a linerless construction. This is what we're going to on everything we can. I think we first did it on the mini Growler. What I mean by linerless is it does not have full liners on either side. And the lock bar is literally just a lock bar. So you could call it a liner lock, but it's what I call an inset tab lock, okay? Very confusing. Inset, tab, liner lock, whatever. Because the lock bar is the only part that is liner. There's no liner here or whatever, right? Now, we've strategically put steel in certain places so that this knife is super solid. And those places include the lock bar. Down here, we put a little nut-shaped D-shaped nut of steel so that you could have a reversible pocket clip, okay? Very important for us lefties, right? And then up here, you could just see one fell out. We have a tab, I call this a tab, that drops into the scale around the pivot area and secures both the pivot and the stop pin. And what that does is it allows the stop pin to be supported by steel on both sides. Where on previous designs, when we went linerless, we didn't have these and it went right into the material. And depending on the material, they would either do it or not do it or add liners or whatever. So camo carbon holds up really well to it, but weave carbon fiber, G10, micarta, not going to hold up really well to having just a hole in the material, right? That stop pin can actually start chewing out the material and cause lock rock and stuff like that. Now, we haven't really had a big issue with that. On the mini Growler, well, I guess I should go back. We didn't have this on the mini Growler because that's the knife where we decided to start doing this because of. The mini Growler didn't have this, so on the carbon, the weave version and the G10 version, I had one of each. I did have another guy hit me up after my last video where I explained this, and he's sending me one to check out. But we've had one instance on G10 and one on weave carbon fiber, so it's not some kind of epidemic, where the stop pin actually like chipped away at the material around the hole, right? And so it caused the stop pin to be able to move a little bit. And then when the blade is open, it can move a little bit and now you get lock rock. Or I guess it's not lock rock because it's not the lock, it's whatever. And the only way to fix that is to replace the whole scale or the knife or both scales with a different material or something. So it's not something we can really like we can't just like send a part, you know what I mean? Which is obviously the goal. You want to be able to send consumable parts if needed. So anyway, we added these steel tabs to give the stop pin more security. And that is what we've done. So you can see those on both sides. And they also, cool thing is, they also act as the washer. So you don't need to have little steel washers in there as well. So it solves the problem and it removes a part. So it's a win. You still only have one part. It's basically a big washer, you know? One other thing we've added, not a steel part, but we've added these two little pinholes. Let's see if you can see them. There you go. We added these two little pinholes, and basically you can take this guy out and then you can poke a needle through there or whatever, and you'll be able to pop your pivot collars out if they get stuck. Because we were having, again, very occasional, very rare cases where the collar just would not come out, and like it would end up where we had to like freaking, you know, go in there with Dremels and shit and like just try to fight that thing out. In a really rare case, I had to do that. In other cases, we've had to destroy the collar just to get it out. So now we have this option where you can just push it out. And it also works to push this out if for some reason this got stuck the other way. If they both get stuck, I guess we're in trouble, but I don't think it's going to happen. So that's kind of a breakdown of the carbon fiber versions and what we did there. There is a pin down here that I honestly did not even know was there. There's a little pin that goes down here. And it just helps secure the backspacer. So, yeah. I am going to install skips, and I'm going to install this crystallized blue titanium kit on this one because I think it's going to look dope. I took the regular blue off. I was going to put the purple on the reverse tux, but I don't know. We'll see. All right. So that's about as far as I've gotten. I'm going to clean the blade and such, and I'm going to put this sucker back together. And, yeah. And I'll show you guys the disassembly part on the titanium one, so you're not missing anything there. All right. Clean that up. The differences from the V2 are vast and aplenty. All the stuff I just mentioned, the V2 had full liners. So all that's gone, and we've gone to this construction. We've never done camo carbon on a growler, full-size growler. We've never done, I don't think we've ever done belt satin on a full-size growler. I don't think we've ever done titanium on a full-size growler. We never had a front flipper. We added a front flipper. There's probably other stuff that I just am not. We pulled the plunge grind back as far as we could. It is a little bit hit or miss on the belt satin ones, DLC belt, and this one. They're a little bit more forward because it's hand ground belt satin. So for whatever reason, they pull it forward a little bit. You can see there's still some room there, though, to sharpen her up. But the versions that are not belt satin, the machine finished ones, are a bit further back, which if that matters to you, there you go. All right, we've cleaned everything except the lock bar here. The lock bar is held in by a barrel, a pin, and a tab here, and then also the clip screw. So this sucker is secured in here, okay? Don't worry about that. Clean the lock bar face here. One quick thing I wanted to note about this while we're talking about the linerless stuff is in a previous video about the small boy Metal Complex. Some people mentioned this to me, so I'm just going to mention it. Metal Complex mentioned that he thought the price might have been a little bit high on the dark mode version because it didn't have a titanium lock bar with steel insert. And it's a completely valid argument, in my opinion. Now, that specific version was DLC belt satin with all DLC accents and hardware. So there's more than just, you know, the steel and the handle material. There's also that DLC aspect to it, which adds some cost. So the standard price for the small boy is $219, which I think is really reasonable for S90V, camo carbon, or titanium, and all titanium hardware and accents, right? I think that's more than reasonable. But that specific version was $249, so I understand why it triggered something in him. And I do think it's a valid argument on the small boy because the small boy has full liners. Like I said, we're going to this on everything. We've done it on stuff before, but now we've kind of like perfected it, I think. And moving forward, you're going to see it, I think, on everything that it makes sense on. But this one has full liners on the lock side and the front side, except for titanium versions. They don't have the show side liner. So I think his point was valid. I do think had we implemented this when we ordered these, then the argument I don't think makes sense. And then I think it's just a mental thing where people just see titanium with insert. Okay, that's premium. And I totally understand that. But with this, you're talking about removing, like we're trying to get rid of things. If you, like, that's the point, right? We're getting rid of the full liner. We don't need the titanium lock bar here. We're basically going down to the insert. Okay, so imagine this is just a large steel insert. That's essentially what we're doing here. And I think in this case, that argument doesn't make as much sense. I still understand the mental, like the mental thing where it's like titanium, premium. Like I totally understand that. No argument for me on that. But I can actually give you a like reason why this makes sense with the price point or whatever. With the full liners, not as much. So I just wanted to cover that real quick because people have been mentioning it to me. Let me know in the comments what you think. Would you feel like it's more premium if this was titanium and it had a steel insert? Now I want to point out the reason we don't do that, because obviously that was our first instinct. The reason we don't do that on a lot of knives is because they want to, this is something I battle with OEMs on constantly. And if you don't do a lot of OEM stuff, you're not going to know this. And again, totally understandable. They want to make the knife stupid thick, right? So if you ask for titanium and a steel insert, they're going to go, oh, well, now we got to make the handles, or the scales X amount thicker. Then we got to make this thicker. And all of a sudden, you're looking at over ½ an inch on your knife versus this being 0.47 or whatever. Which to me, 0.5 is like that's like the barrier, right? Like it should not be over that unless there's a good reason, which it happens, of course. But I think every knife should be under 0.5. And if possible, 0.47, 0.45, right? And OEMs, they want to make the knife thicker when you ask for titanium with a steel insert. Would it cost more as well? Yes, that's the other reason. The price would then be higher if we did it, and the knife would be thicker. So to me, I would rather lose both of those, let it be a little cheaper, and keep the knife thinner. So that's my argument for it. And then having the inset tab lock like this makes perfect sense to me because now you're eliminating a ton of weight as well. So that's my point on that, and I'm going to move on because otherwise I will talk forever. All right, I need these two. I'm going to start with the thick because it just helps me get it out of the way. I just put a little bit on the detent track. That was too much. And I'm going to put a touch, I'm not even squeezing, on the detent ball. Okay. Going to dab a little here. I'm probably going to take too much, and then we're going to go backwards. It's still like so much. Okay, that's good. All right, so we got that on. Then we're going to take our medium carbon honey. This is my preferred lubricant. You guys choose whatever you want. KPL, Gunny Slide, Gunny Juice, Nano Oil, all of them. Fantastic. I've tested and used all of them. Well, I haven't done a lot of testing on Gunny Juice and stuff. They were going to send me some, and then they never did. So, yeah. I wanted to try it and compare it to the others, but I didn't really get a chance. I could have bought it, of course. I just didn't because I have these now. Carbon Honey is my favorite. It's the smoothest, in my opinion, and it holds up really well for a long time. So, I like this stuff a lot. Also, huge factor, you can get it scentless. So you have the option when you order it to get it with a scent or without. That is huge because I hate the smell of a lot of lubricants. People try to mask it with stuff, and I hate it. So anyway, the thick is the best, in my opinion, for detent balls and detent tracks. The medium is the best for a standard size pocket knife for bearings. The thin is best for like really small knives, if that makes sense. Where maybe having it be a little bit thinner on the lube will let the blade be a little bit smoother and drop, you know what I mean? Where it doesn't have as much weight in the blade to help it. That's when I use thin, so like under 3 inches maybe. Or under, I don't know, 275. And then the uber thin is basically useless. I use it on like OTFs maybe, and occasionally I'll drip it like on the back spring of a slip joint and let it kind of creep in there. Or like try to get it into a slip joint so it creeps into the washer or something. But for the most part, I'm using medium and thick on a disassembly. If you guys need skiff bearings, check out skiffworkshop.com. Use the code leftyedc. You will get 10% off your skiffs. You will get 10% off your finger bits, which are phenomenal if you have spinning pivots or barrels or whatever. We'll see if we need it along the way here. And you'll get 10% off your cheat sheets, which help you determine the size of skiffs. So here's the stock bearing. Okay, I need to figure out what bearings to get from skiff. Okay, well, I need to figure out the ball size. Okay, so the thickness, essentially. So we'll start at the top, 1 millimeter. Nope, doesn't fit. 3/64, nope, doesn't fit. 1/16, boom, fits right through there. So now we know 1/16 on the thickness, ball size. Then we take the pivot and we go, all right, what size is this? 1/8, nope. 4 millimeter, nope. 3/16, oh, almost, nope. 5 millimeter, boom, drops right in, moves around, no problem. Obviously it fits in here too, but you want the smallest one that fits, okay? So 5 millimeter, 1/16, that's what we want. All right, let me go check out Skiff. What do they got? Oh, look at that. They got 5 millimeter, 1/16. Now the only other thing you have to figure out is the amount of balls you want. And the reason that's important is some of them have a lot and they're like multi-row. And that is the outer diameter, okay? The OD, which is important because if the pocket on the blade isn't big enough for your giant multi-row bearing, then it's not gonna fit. It doesn't really matter on 5 millimeter. This is kind of what you're gonna get, 5 mil 1/16. But if you have a 6 mil 1/16, you're gonna have like 3 options and they get bigger and bigger. So depending on the size of this pocket, you're gonna wanna get the appropriate one. Now, what's the best way to figure that out? You could just take your standard bearing and you could measure it with a calipers. That would be sweet. But if you have calipers, you're probably not using the cheat sheet. What you wanna do is kind of just look at your stock bearing. Does it have multi-rows? So if it has bearings like in multiple rows, then you know you probably want a larger one, right? You probably want the one with more balls. If it's like this, then you know it's single row, and then you just go with the smallest number of balls in the size you want. If you want to just be sure it's going to work, get the one with the smallest number of balls, okay? Because that way, even if the pocket is bigger, it'll fit and it'll work. So yeah. There's a little nuance to it, but for the most part, that cheat sheet will help you determine what you need. All right, shutting up. Let's move on. Let's get this sucker together. So we're gonna put our pivot collar in first. So we gotta line it up. We got a captive notch and a captive notch right there, and we're gonna slot that bad boy in there, and it's gonna pop in place. It should stay in there. There we go. All right, so then we're going to take our pivot. Here's our pivot. We're going to pop that in. I will probably clean it. Let me just clean it real quick. Alcohol. What I do is I take alcohol, and then I take a T6, which is smaller than the T8 that this uses, so I know it's going to fit into the hole here. And I just kind of drive it in. I'm careful. I'm using the cloth. I'm driving it inside to clean the threads and stuff. See? So it just cleans that out. You can also obviously clean the outside. Then, put that away. Take your pivot screw, this one, put it onto the alcohol, and now you can take your standard driver with your T8, because that's all you need on this knife is a T8. Make sure you don't slip out and scratch your screw. And then clean that up and get the shiz off of there. So now that's done. All right. So now we're going to take our pivot. Make sure that when you look at it, this barrel is actually tight onto this pivot cap. that can get you sometimes. It's pretty rare on our Kubi OEM stuff, but occasionally on the Riot OEM or the older Bestech OEM stuff, when you take the knife apart, sometimes the Loctite is so tight over here, it starts to unscrew from this side, which nobody realizes is actually a screw. This is just a screw that's threaded in and then it's like heavily glued in there. But sometimes it can loosen. If that happens when you put your knife together, you're going to have play. And you're not going to sometimes realize why, because it'll actually be centered in some cases. So you're going to drop this in, turn it till it also locks into that notch, and now it falls in flush. Okay, so we got that in. Easy peasy. Now we're going to put in our tab here that fell out. Just drop that in. You'll be able to tell which side goes where because it looks like a boomerang. And there's only one hole for the stop pin. Take your stop pin, push it in. What I'm going to do, because I always do this with every knife, not because I'm worried about it on our knife, just because I do it. I'm going to take a little bit of Loctite. Come on, baby. There we go. And I'm going to drop that into the hole, so she said. And then I'm going to put in the stop pin. Like that, okay? And since I did that, I'm going to go ahead and do it over here. I just need a little bit. Nothing crazy. Don't go crazy, guys. And then down here, I have another pin. So I'm going to go ahead and do that too. On this side and this side. Just a dot, like the tiniest little bit. You don't want it to ooze out around it. Trust me. All right, so we've done that. Now we're going to take our bearings. We're going to take our medium lubricant, rub it around on our fingers, put it on our bearing, roll that around. This way, I get it all over the bearing. And when I put it in the knife, it doesn't just ooze out all over the knife. It stays on the bearing, which is kind of the idea, right? Drop that. And then I'm going to get the other one. Flip it over. Get this side. Wipe my fingers off. All right, cool. So I'm going to put this back because I am left-handed, which is not good in this instance. I have the clip over here, which, oh, you know what? I actually need to remove that clip. So let me just drop this in there. So being left-handed sometimes is annoying because it's the lock side or the show side that you have the clip on. And depending on which way you put it together, you might have the clip facing down and then it doesn't allow the pivot to hit the table, which makes it difficult to put together, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to drop that because I'm going to put this clip on anyway. And you can see that little nut in action. They should not pop out, should stay in there. So don't worry about that. All right. Now I'm going to put the blade on like so. So now I have the blade on and the other bearing in. Boom. Good to go. Now I'm going to make sure I have all the other parts in. Backspacer drops in like so. Let me just get the angle right. I love the inside of the camo carbon. So it drops on like that, and then you take this pin and pop that in here. Good question that somebody's going to ask, so I'm going to check right now, is are the pins the same? Let's find out before we put it together. For science. Man, I did not expect the whole knife to come apart, but you got to do what you got to do for science, guys. All right, now I didn't pay attention, so hopefully, yeah. Left one I think is the stop pin, and the right one is the other pin. But if I was a betting man, I would argue they are identical. I'm going to get a caliper to confirm because now I have a thought. Because if you mix those up, that could cause an issue if they are different. So let's see. 0.271. 0.27. So they're very close. But, and that's normal for it to be slightly, you know, 0.117, 1175. Now that's going to be, you know, not perfect, but yeah, there we go, 117. Okay, they are identical. So that is a good sign. So you don't really have to worry about which one goes where. I think this one was the stop pin, so I'm just going to put that one in here, and it shouldn't matter. I guess we'll find out. If we put it together and we have any issues, we can swap those and see. And now I got to do all this again. Ah, jeez. Okay. Okay. All good. So I'm just trying to get this collar back in place. There it goes. She drops in. I'm going to push the pivot through, and I just have to turn it so it also pops into place. Boom, boom. Both of those are in. All right, so I got everything up here in. I just got to put this backspacer back and drop that pin in. All right, then blade goes on. All right, we're good to go now. Then I'm going to take this side, which just has the lock bar and the one tab up here. It shouldn't fall out on you. And we're going to place that on top and make sure everything clicks together, okay? You got pins and all that shit. Just make sure it all clicks. And then place your other collar in. Now, what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to take our pivot screw. I'm going to start with this. And I'm going to just work it in a little bit. So I always go counterclockwise till I hear a click, so I know it's going in the threads. And I'm just going to start it. I'm not going nuts. Just got it a little bit tight so nothing's going to fall out of here. And I'm going to close the knife. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to work on other stuff. So I have these screws. These are the body screws. Also T8. Everything's a T8. I'm going to put one in. Not tighten it all the way, but just get it going. Put this one in. Okay, take my pocket clip. Should just slot in here. FYI, the pocket clip on the Growler V3 is the same as the Tallboy pocket clip. I measured them. So you can interchange Tallboy clips. You can also interchange small boy clips. The small boy clips will be slightly shorter, but same design. The Growler XL clips will also fit on here. And the Saloon clips will also fit on here. I think that's it for now that are released. That I can confirm at least. Okay, tighten that down, flip it over. We got another one here. This is just your clip slot screw. I don't know what you call it. It looks silly when there's no screw there, so we always add this screw. It's not like doing anything. All right. That should be it. So now I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. Just tight. Check centering. Looks like it's going to be good. Tighten these. Tighten that. That was tight. I'm going to check these screws just in case they turned because they're on a barrel. Nothing moved. All right, we're good to go. Everything's in place. Now you can see the crystal tie. Now I did put oil all over it because my fingers are covered. So I'm going to wipe these down one more time and see if we get a little shine. There we go. And then I, of course, touched it again. But you know what? You're going to touch your clip. So I don't really know. That's what she said. All right. Sorry. There we go. It does look cool. I like the color. Definitely does not look worse than this did. So if anything, it's a little upgrade. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. We have no play or no detent lash. We are dead centered. Maybe a little to this side, but I will loosen the pivot and then I'll show you what I do. Flick it. How's it feel? We have no play, no rock of any kind. And, oh boy, she sings. She's singing on the close. Okay, so now what I do, because I just put it all together, I tighten everything. I will loosen the pivot and take it out usually. Some cases, I'll just kind of do this, just open it a little, whatever. You know, I'm not doing anything crazy. I don't know what that is. What the heck is that? Is it like a scratch? Or is it a piece of like paper in there? I think it's just a scratch, but no, it was a piece of something. Maybe it was old Loctite or something. So I don't know if that would make a difference, but make sure everything's clean. All right, so now I took it out and then I tighten it back down. Usually that will correct any issues. Yeah, now we're dead centered. You got to get the right angle. The camera's never at the right angle. There you go. All right, let's try it again. Flick it, feels great. It's a bank vault now. Let's see. Oh, dude. So yeah, that little piece of whatever in there was maybe causing it. Like when I first checked it, there was no play, but like I could wrench on it and kind of like I didn't feel play, but I could tell like it could go tighter. And then I just did it again after I cleaned it out, and I didn't really go any tighter. I mean, you can see the action, but it was able to make it now where it just feels like a fixed blade. That's the best way to explain it. Yeah, it feels solid. You hear that? That was a ting too. Yeah, she's a beaut, Clark. So now what I do is take it out again because I got to Loctite it. But after that, I don't touch it for a little while. Now, in my case, this Loctite in this house or whatever, it seems to cure a lot quicker. In my old house, if you guys have been around that long, I would have to let stuff sit for days. So whatever works for you, I usually end up leaving stuff sit overnight because I just forget about it, you know. But I know it's annoying to have to wait to use your knife, but hey, you can always use super glue if you want. Just be very liberal. I mean, not liberal, the opposite, conservative. Jesus. Oh my God. Even tighter that time, that's what she said. And it just refuses to not be a smooth dropper. Hell yeah, dude. This thing is money. No detent lat. This is absolutely beautiful. And that crystal tie gives it that pop I wanted. So there you go, guys. That is a look at the 80s version. Disassembled, reassembled, skiff bearing swapped. Clean the blade because I have used this. Been carrying this one in the reverse tux. I sent all the other ones out at this point, so I don't have any. Otherwise, I'd show them to you. Man, the action on this thing is beautiful. So there we go. All right, so then what I'm going to do for posterity is put the kit in here. Oh my God. Just use a bigger Ziploc, Kubi. Put that in there. I think the way they do it is they do the backspacer and the clip separate, and then they drop in the collars and then put those in there. So they're all separated. They just don't have to use 4 bags, which is fair, I guess, you know. It does make it a little difficult to get them all in. You can always use a larger bag. When we send these to you guys directly, we always use a larger bag to put them in. I don't know what White Mountain does, to be honest. They probably are just sending you this little Ziploc is my guess. So just do what I'm doing. Push it down till it is able to close. It might take you 10 tries because it's annoying. Come on, baby. There we go. All right. Sealed up. I got my blue kit. And then I'm going to take my stock bearings. I drop those in here. Because this is a knife that I might sell at some point or give away or whatever, I will put all of this in the box. That's what I recommend you do, so that if you sell the knife or give it away or something, you now have all the extra parts that came with it. There's the wire clip if you want to use that. These do come with a wire clip. All right, next up, we got this version. So I'll try to move a little faster now that I don't have to explain everything. T8, drive that in there. Don't think I'm going to swap the the hardware or anything. I like the black on bead blast look. So I'm a big reverse tux guy. Man, there's this Wera holding function bit is amazing. Some screws it just does not want to let go of. And because it's DLC, it doesn't mar up your screw at all. The clip screw, I don't think, yeah, doesn't need to come off. So this knife is more traditional. So you have titanium, you have milled pockets wherever we could fit them, and then you have your inset tab lock, just like the other one, and you have steel washers on this. Because this is titanium, which is very strong, we don't need to worry about putting that steel tab in there. So the stop pin just goes right into the tie, and then we have a steel washer. Very traditional setup. I guess minus the inset tab lock. This side you can see is totally milled out, as much as we could possibly get in there. These knives are all numbered, by the way. At least the stock setups, not the if you add a kit or something. You can see this is number 16 of 50. There are 50 of every single version. So we made it easy for you guys. You have 10 versions total, right? 5 with 2 steel choices each. Well, technically 6, I guess, but whatever. And then 50 of each. So we're going to see how they sell. I'm really curious. That was part of the reason for doing this, to see what steels sell best, with what handle configuration, to try to get a good idea so we can get you guys what you want in the future, you know? I'll clean the blade later because that's going to always be a pain in the ass. Now, sometimes I'll flip the washers, but I've kind of learned in the last year or so that flipping the washers sometimes actually makes it worse, to be honest. Because a lot of times the washers are actually different on both sides. Like this side is kind of more, it almost has like a contour to it, and the other side is just flat. And it does make a difference. Usually doesn't change the centering much, but it could change the smoothness and whatnot. It just takes longer to break in if you do it. So I try to swap it as soon as I can, and then I try to leave the washers the way they are, unless I notice an issue. So like maybe when I install these, the track that's already in there doesn't line up with this, or they intersect, and then I feel some kind of, you know, something weird, and then I might flip them. But for now, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I'm going to pop out the, first thing actually I'm going to do is take the clip off. I am not swapping this clip. I put that in there nice and tight, apparently. Ah, come on, don't be like that. All right, I must have really had to drive in that clip. Let me make sure I didn't make it tappy now. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it in because it apparently does not want to come out. These are really in there, so I'm actually not going to put the Loctite under the pins. I will put them on the other side. And again, just a touch. Like, we're not talking about a lot. Because these don't want to come out. There's really no okay, that one came out. That means they're really tight in there, and they're not going to have the rattle issue anyway. I just have a habit of doing this because I want to save the time, you know. On this one, it's easier to figure out which one's a stop pin because this one's satin. Because it's invisible from the outside, so there's no reason to make that DLC. All right. Flip this over. Drop it on there. Come on. Yeah, I knew this was going to be a pain in the ass. How did I even get it off? This pin didn't come out, right? No. All right, so what you have to do then is loosen these because they're just not budging. So I just loosen them a little bit. Man, this thing really sticks into those screws. Look at that. Man, I love this bit. You can get this at KC Tool, like the city KC Tool, or the letters, whatever. And these are the Wera holding function bits, okay? So you could search Wera HF and then T8. and you should be able to find this. Just keep in mind, you have to go in straight. This is not a bit, like the way it's made, it holds the screw, but it's harder to use, actually. That sounds weird if you don't know what you're doing. A standard bit, you can see clearly defined star shape, right? You see that? It's a little bit thinner at the top than the actual screw head, where this one doesn't have as clearly defined, whatever you want to call them, star-shaped thingies. And that's because it's actually, I think, it's almost as thick as the tooling in there. That's why it sticks, right? Where this one is like tapered. So this one will just go in and then fall out, right? But because of that, you can't go in on an angle with this one. You can't go in soft. You have to really push it hard. That's what she said, and go straight in there. So just keep that in mind. I don't want people to buy those and then scuff up all their screws, because I did that at first. And I still do it sometimes. So it's not the perfect tool. I was hoping loosening that was gonna, yep, there we go, okay. And now, so that hopefully it makes it easier, I'm gonna tighten these and maybe it'll just stay in there now. Yeah, okay. Let's clean the pivot. Come on, Kev, you can do this. I'm almost at 41 minutes, and this is me doing it fast, too. Isn't that incredible, guys? I am absolutely terrible at this fast thing. Not good at fast disassembly. Sorry, guys. All right, got it. I know some of you guys, a little bit of Loctite came out there. I know some of you guys watch these because you're sitting at work and you need time to kill, so, you know, you're welcome for that. But for those of you looking for a quick video, sorry. I apparently just cannot do it. All right, pivot. Mostly because I want to be thorough, you know. So hopefully you guys, I don't know, learn something, or it helps you in some way, or if you buy one of these and you're doing a disassembly and you need help with a certain aspect, I cover it because I'm not rushing through everything, you know? All right. Come on, buddy. Get in there. Yeah, like purple might look cool, but I just think it would take away from the overall idea of this knife. Flip that around, pop her in, make sure she locks in place. There we go. All right. And then I need to, damn it. All right, I'm gonna lay this down so that the pivot doesn't pop back out. I laid it over the thing. I'm gonna get my bearings ready. And I did clean everything, right? So I also need to, come on, get a little bit on the detent track. Let's see if I can actually do a little bit. I'm trying so hard, but it's not enough. Yep, and it ends up being too much. So it's not me, guys. It's the applicator. It's just not meant for a small amount of anything. So since I have this guy, I don't even know what I used it for. Now, one thing I'll mention on DLC belt satin knives, you can see the detent track is still not even milled in. Like, it's not cut in yet. That detent ball takes a while to get through the DLC, smooth it out, all that stuff. So you might need to apply some lube to the detent ball every once in a while. And when you do, you'll notice instantly how much smoother it gets. And then it might go away after a day and you got to do it again. Once it wears through, though, it's going to be as smooth as butter. You just have to, you know, work at it a little more than a standard belt satin knife, where that detent track is pretty much worn in instantly. The DLC basically adds a like tiny micron thick layer of ultra tough DLC, which is like, it basically has a layer of like a micron, what is it, like 5 microns or something? It's a tiny, tiny amount. But that layer is between like 70 and 90 HRC. So I'm just going to say 80 HRC, which is insane. That's why DLC is the shit. And then underneath that, you have 154cm, or in this case, S90V, and that is 61, let's say, HRC. So it's so tough on a blade. But if you put DLC on titanium, you have that ultra tough, tiny micron thick layer, and then you have soft titanium under it. So if you really try, you can scratch DLC titanium easier than steel, because the layer underneath protects it better when it comes to steel versus titanium. It's like you can push through basically that layer and then scratch underneath. Yeah, DLC is wild. I love that shit. All right, shut up. Oh, stop talking, dude. Did I even do this one? I did. Okay, I did that one. Now I got some of the thicker oil on it, but whatever, who cares? Get your shit together, son. All right. Flip this over. Try not to lose my finger or my grip on the pivot there. Drop this one on. Okay, cool, 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 cool. All right, now I need to put the scale on. Pretty straightforward. Drop it on. See if those, what am I looking at? Is that just a black ring in there? Oh, okay. Just schmutz. I thought it was like protruding. It was kind of interesting looking. All right, drop this on. We're going to see if that stop pin or the spacers are actually going to all click in. Yep, they all clicked in. I was worried they'd be too tight. All right, now I can wipe this finger off. Drop this collar in like it's hot. Drop in the pivot, which I will probably clean again because I'm a maniac. Tighten it down. There we go. Now I can let go of stuff and wipe my hand. It would be a lot easier if you were right-handed doing that, or you had the clip just off. But that clip was hard to get on. I remember now. I had to use the screw. Sometimes the clips are tight, and you can only get them in so far. Then you drop the screw in. You have to tighten the screw down, and it like pulls the clip in. It's really hard to get it back off after that. It's possible. It's just going to be a little bit more work than I want to do right now. No lash at all. Beautiful. Looking for any weirdness. I think I just have oil on me. So I'm just going to give her a little wipey wipe. Whoa. Now you could put some Wicked Wax, or you could even use the lube and put it on the blade, rub it in, and then wipe it off, and it'll absorb that. DLC is an absorbent coating. All right, so I'm checking stuff tight. Don't have body screws in, so there we go, Kev. That'll help. Make sure those are nice and tight like a tiger. Okay. The other way to do that is to get it locked onto the bit and then drive it in. And again, make sure you're putting pressure on it so you don't slip out, because this will cam out a lot easier than a standard bit. But once it's in there, that sucker's in there. I think I already checked this, but I'll do it again. All right, now for the pivot. Let's just make sure it's tight. Actually, let's back it out. Clean it. Just a quickie. All right, drop this in. Drop that back in. All right, so now we're going to do our test counterclockwise. Oops, I pushed too hard. All right, tighten that sucker down. Now I'm going to check it. All right, we are centered. No lash. Detent. Oh, look at that. So on this one, looks like you can go a little tight. Yeah, see, it's fixed blade tight, but it's still doing its thing. I'm gonna back off a touch. Back off a touch. I might have just went too tight. There we go. And no play. Still a bank vault. Still feels like a fixed blade, actually. And it's swinging there. And you guys saw it doesn't even have a detent track worn in yet. And I've actually carried this quite a bit. So I'm surprised. And it's already, that oil kicked in. That's all. It needed that lube to kick in. See? It's not as droppy after the initial drop as this one. This one's just so smooth. But again, that's because this one is belt satin. Once this one wears that track in, it's going to be just like that. I mean, it's already getting there. So you just got to be a little more patient with a DLC blade, basically. That's a trade-off for getting the awesomeness of DLC. So up to you guys if you want to make that trade-off. If you don't, guess what? We got options. All right, cleaning that one more time because I touched it. And then I'm getting my Loctite out. Drop a little bit on there. This Loctite is like partially cured in the syringe thingy. That's why it isn't leaking everywhere like you see a lot of times. It's kind of nice because it cures like super quick then. Because I also put my pivots tight. So they squeeze out all the air and shit, and it just cures so fast. Bank vault, drop. Oh, man. Can you hear it grinding on the track? You hear that? Versus this one, which is probably a lot smoother. You can still hear it, but just barely, and it's like buttery smooth. This one, very smooth, but you can just hear the track on the detent ball. And again, that will go away. So I'm happy with both of these. And yeah, that's going to break in like butter. Super stoked, guys. That couldn't have gone any better. It's under an hour. Whatever. It's going to have to do. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. You guys know I'm happy to answer what I can. If I don't answer in the comments because I'm a little scatterbrained and I just, don't get a chance to look through every comment, please reach out to me, leftyedc88@gmail.com, or Divo-related info@divoknives.com, kevin@divoknives.com. If you want to bug Colin just for fun, guys, send Colin an email, colin@divoknives.com, and just tell him he's awesome. Tell him he's the best part of Divo. Tell him that he's the reason Divo is awesome and Lefty's a loser. Just email him and be a dick. No, don't do that. But email him. Do it. Sorry, Colin. I love you, buddy. Nobody's going to watch this far anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, if you have questions, let us know in the comments. Hit us up. Or I highly recommend you guys check out our Facebook group. It is starting to grow a little bit. We've got like 550 members now. I haven't advertised it much, and I really need to. So check out Divo Knives Dive Bar on Facebook. I think I have it linked in the description of every video. So check out the Dive Bar group. It's fantastic. It's full of Divo lovers and, of course, all different knife lovers. If you're looking for a certain Divo, you can get it there. Did I put the clip on the wrong side? I did. Idiot. Luckily, it wasn't the other one. Such a pain to get off. Yeah, check out the Facebook group. I try to post stuff there early. You never know. You might get a cool discount code. all types of cool stuff in there. We're trying to do more. We will do more. At some point, we want to do like group exclusive knives and shit. So the more people we can get to join, the faster that stuff can happen and the more fun we're going to have. There's also a buy, sell, trade in there. You can also post ISOs and whatever else you want to do. I love you guys. I appreciate all of you. Check out the Growler V3 dropping on Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. I'm out. Peace.